Great to see everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Before I forget, one of the reasons I'm making this car vid is Monday, June 3rd, which if you're watching this when it's posted will be right away. Monday, June 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern time. 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm hosting a free group coaching session. Often I put these sessions these days just in their entirety on YouTube. Tomorrow's session, I'm recording this on Sunday. Tomorrow's session will not be put on its entirety on YouTube. So if you want to join live, it's going to be more private and intimate than recent group coaching sessions. And you'll be able to probably get more personal in terms of what you want to talk about, what issues you're going through, because these group sessions we always create a safe, supportive space. And you're welcome to join us if you would like. If you are not a member of my mailing list, if you have not received a Zoom link yet, you can email me at info@radicalcounselor.com, info@radicalcounselor.com, and I'll send you the Zoom link if you email me before 4 p.m. on Monday. So today's video, I want to focus on affirmations, robotic affirmations. No, in all seriousness, Marvin Daniels and myself have been discussing on his channel and my channel robotic affirmations, SP stuff, Sammy Ingram's advice, people having anxiety attacks and, mental health problems from robotically affirming. And some of the nuances to this stuff that, unfortunately, most YouTube channels just don't really cover. And today I wanted to talk a little bit more about how to make it so you don't have a lot of mental issues, I guess you could say, while you are robotically affirming. Now, please understand, first of all, please understand, I like a lot of what Sammy Ingram says. I feel like any video where I discuss robotic affirmations, I have to make this disclaimer. I like a lot of Sammy's advice when it comes to robotic affirming. And obviously she's a very charismatic teacher or, influencer on YouTube. So overall, I like Sammy's advice. That's the big thing to understand. The reason that I'm so critical of her, and I think more people should be critical of the robotic affirming scene, which has basically become a cult, as well as the SP scene, which has always been a cult since it became big a couple years ago or 5 years ago or whatever online. Why I'm critical of this stuff is because it lacks nuance and it lacks fucking common sense most of the time. Robotic affirmations are a fantastic tool, but you hear people like Sammy and all these other coaches. I'm not mentioning these other coaches and teachers because they're just not as good as Sammy as far as I've seen. Sammy's very good at explaining robotic affirming and how to do it well. But still, nonetheless, all these teachers, Sammy for sure, they overpromise and they fucking underdeliver. And something we didn't mention that's worth mentioning that I've heard from multiple sources, Sammy deletes negative comments on her channel or has someone delete them a lot of the time. She's welcome to do that. I get that. There's some comments that are obviously just haters that don't get it. You delete it, whatever. But the perception that this is working for everybody is made a lot easier to create that perception when you just delete comments that are at all negative or critical of robotic affirming, which from, I've heard through the grapevine, what seems to be rather clear to me is what happens on Sammy's channel. And obviously there's a whole bullshit cult around robotic affirming that Sammy has fomented and created, okay? That's her fucking fault, all right? As far as I'm concerned, a more common sense, down-to-earth interpretation of robotic affirming, unsurprisingly, brings us back to the master explainer of affirmations and basically manifesting of the last 100 or 50 years or so, at least in the English language and French language. That's Émile Coué. This is Simple Self-Healing, which is a book I edited of some of Coué's teachings back in 2017. I'll put a link below to Simple Self-Healing. You can get it on Kindle, or you can get a paperback version, or you can listen to it in an audiobook version. If you want to get deep about affirmations and understand them better, I said this in a few of the comments recently, and I've said it over the years so many times. If you want to learn more about affirmations and how they work and why they work, and frankly, if you want to learn more about the law of attraction, law of assumption, manifesting, and why it works psychologically, the person to look to is Émile Coué. It's not Neville. It's not Florence Scovel Shinn. It's not Abraham Hicks. It's not Joseph Murphy. It's not Vadim Zalin. It's not Dr. Joe. Coué was actually able to get the medical establishment in France to buy into his stuff a lot, and had a lot more success with people than Dr. Joe ever has. Dr. Joe's a chiropractor, guys. And I like some of the stuff Dr. Joe says. But what I'm getting at here is none of those aforementioned teachers, who I all like and I all think are fantastic in their own ways, none of them come close to explaining how affirmations effectively work and had the degree of success of helping thousands upon thousands and thousands of people heal themselves as Émile Coué. He sits above all of these other teachers in that regard. And it's not close, in my opinion. And if you don't understand this, after looking at his stuff, this channel is probably not for you. The way to get robotic affirmations to work for you, where you don't feel stressed out by them that much, is to do them in the way that Coué suggested. Affirming, consciously auto-suggesting, this is synonymous terms, is a passive exercise. It's not something we consciously judge while we're doing it. So if I'm saying something over and over again, I'm saying something over and over again, I'm saying something over and over again, I'm saying for something over and over again. I'm just saying it, I'm just doing it. I'm not looking for signs. I'm not looking to change. I'm not looking for the 3D to change. I'm just doing it. I'm just implanting it passively. So I wanted to read from Simple Self-Healing, this chapter called Don't Concentrate. Guys, you could watch 100 Sammy videos and you'd be better off simply reading or listening to this book, or reading or listening to Coué. I'm telling you right now. This is what Coué says. The fact is, our subconscious knows much more than we can ever know ourselves about our physical organism. Fortunately for us. Just think what a mess we should make of things if we had to look after every function. Breathing and digestion, for instance. Who is it that takes charge of such a complicated job? The subconscious mind. And if ever it does work badly, it's always because in some way or another, we voluntarily meddled with it. You might not agree with that, by the way, completely, but follow Coué along. It goes on to say, every organ or function is connected with and depends to some degree upon others. And if the ordinary man or woman were to begin ordering the subconscious tinkering with a particular organ, he or she would certainly be obeyed. Only the chances are that something else would then go wrong as a result of insufficient knowledge or perhaps complete ignorance of physiology on the part of the conscious mind. Now, we can draw, he's talking about our bodies here, our physical organism, but we could just as easily be talking about personal relationships. And when you try to get specific and get a certain person to do something by affirming them to do a certain thing. Oh, they're going to text me right now. They're going to text me right now. As opposed to just affirming love. And I love them. And I know things are working out for them. And I hope that I see them. And I expect to see them. and I love them and I'm sending love their way. As opposed to, they're going to text me right now. They're going to text me they love me. That chances are that something else would then go wrong as a result of our insufficient knowledge, when we try to affirm specifically for something like that. So Coué is not just talking about the body. This works for, all topics, including SP topics, when it comes to affirmations and conscious autosuggestion in our imagination. Coué always said our subconscious or unconscious are synonymous on a practical level with our imagination. So when you hear Coué or Neville talking about imagination, they're also really just talking about our subconscious. Coué goes on to say here, so just leave it to the subconscious, or just leave it to the imagination. Avoid all effort. When you recite your phrase, every day in every way I'm getting better and better, you must relax all strain and tension. Don't seek to concentrate your thoughts. Concentration is very valuable and necessary when conscious reasoning is to be done, but fatal to the success of autosuggestion or robotic affirming, or any kind of affirming. However, please do isolate yourself from everything likely to distract your attention. Close your eyes if possible. You can obtain mental isolation in a crowd or in a streetcar if need be, and there's no reason why you shouldn't practice autosuggestion in such conditions during the daytime, provided you succeed in putting yourself in the right state of passiveness. At the risk of being accused of tedious repetition, I must insist on the necessity of passiveness and inertia. Don't think you need to struggle to impose your suggestion. The very fact of making it an effort will bring into play the conscious will, and that willpower actually raises a barrier between the subconscious and the suggestion, and prevents the latter from penetrating. That's it. That's why so many people have problems with robotic affirming and go to the hospital or have these terrible panic attacks. Listen again to what Coué said here. At the risk of being accused of tedious repetition, I must insist on the necessity of passiveness and inertia. Don't think you need to struggle to impose your suggestion. The very fact of making it an effort will bring into play the conscious will, and that willpower actually raises a barrier between the subconscious or imagination and the suggestion or affirmation, and prevents the latter, the suggestion or affirmation, from penetrating. He goes on to say here at the end of this chapter, now, because of what I've said on the superiority of a general formula of autosuggestion or affirmation, it must not be thought that I altogether discourage the application of suggestion or affirmation to specific complaints. On the contrary, it's to be recommended unreservedly in all cases where it's desired to relieve pain, correct functional disorders, or alleviate their symptoms. So, a lot of you probably understood the depth of what Coué just said there. And if you didn't, and if you're curious, just, you can watch some of the other Émile Coué videos I've done. I'll put a link above. If you robotically affirm passively, you don't concentrate, you aren't thinking like, I'm robotically affirming, you're just doing it to do it. You do it while you're walking or washing the dishes. Sammy has a lot of good videos where she talks about this. You just do it passively. But you kind of isolate yourself, hopefully mentally, so like you're able to just kind of vibe out and do it. You're not going to have panic attacks if you do it that way. If you're then not thinking about, why hasn't the thing shown up? Like later on, you just do it to do it. First of all, if you do it that way, it starts to feel good to do it, right? Even if nothing externally changes. And if you do it for long enough, in the very least, usually, you start to feel just emotionally, mentally, energetically, we like to say, different about the situation or the thing you're affirming for. You feel more optimistic towards life, or towards your health, or towards your SP, or towards your financial situation, or towards your job. So, conscious autosuggestion, affirmations, robotic affirmations, they're great tools, but let's not, Let's not pretend that they're something they're not. They're a tool. If you have questions or would like coaching, I can be reached at info@radicalcounselor.com. And again, 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday, we're having that free group coaching session. Hope to see you there.